Hi everyone, and welcome back to another TFT guide. Today we're going to be talking about the best comps to climb on the new patch 50.6. Apologize for being a little bit late on this, but here we go. So here is what I think is going to be the main meta for the current patch, and the current patch AP is a lot better than AD. So for level 8 comps, Mighty Mech Karma, so this is a Fast 9 comp, this is also Fast 9 comp. Crystal Gambit in general got buffed. Mentor Rise, Akali, they're still solid level 8 comps, but usually just playing for like a top 4. Soul Fighter same as well, but you must play this from tempo, so this is like a tempo comp. We have Sorks and Yuumi, so these are also like top 4 comps. Technically Sorks can cap a little bit higher than Yuumi. And then Star Garden is still playable, even though it's the bottom of the list here and it did get nerfed. It just went for the most OP comp to just nerfed, so it's still definitely playable, and we can keep playing that. Alright, for rerolls, Janna Reroll is the most broken comp in the game. I expect this to be at least like 2-8 per lobby. And it is 2-wayable. If you remember the Gangplank patch, it's of similar power. So you could just interpret the 2-cost Janna / Reroll as like a 4-cost comp and just play from there. Mal's Flex, so this is like not Crown Guard. Crystal Gambit Mal's is like your like heavyweight / protector Mal's. Plenty of ways to play this, definitely still good. Katarina, if you're from a Katarina drop. Kog'Maw Bastions, if you have like Radiant, if you have an artifact or like Bastion +1. Crew, Kale, Caitlyn, Jace, and Lucian are all still good. Now some comps to avoid playing: no fan service, Zyricon, of course, no Kaisa, and also no Ashe. These are comps that are just not very good right now, so I would avoid playing them. Okay, let's go into the stage 1 unit tier list. So I'll start with this bottom point here. The two best reroll comps right now are like Janna and Cat, and they don't really depend that much on the 1-cost holds. So the 1-cost holds are more so for like how good it will do your tempo, or if you're just playing crew, and that's just if you have Sivers and Malphites. So right now that's why Aatrox and Lucian are in S tier. The strongest stage 2 board is just playing around the 3 Mighty Mech. So if you are able to get like a Senna drop or like a Gangplank drop, that is really good. And if you're able to play Soul Fighter tempo, and then Syndra does open you up into like Mal's, Fast 9, Sork, or Yuumi, but this will also be like if you're high rolling, have like item slams, and hopefully have some sort of augment that gives you either like tempo, gold, or both. For the stage 2 slams, I'm just going to categorize it with AP to AD. So here's what you play. For AP, you just play like you just lock in the Janna, the Mal's, this is the Fast 9 Mech, this is your top 4 Yuumi, this is maybe your 3rd plus Sork, and then Kog'Maw is a little bit more specific. So I'll talk about how to play Kog'Maw and when to play Kog'Maw a little bit later. For your AD comps, it'll be Jinx, Samira, and then Jhin Mundo. And that's about it. So any of these S tiers, you could usually just slam on 2-1 and have some sort of line that you could play into. Same with the A tiers. C and D, well, D is basically never slams, but C is like situational. So usually it's going to be more so like Hand of Justice for Katarina Reroll, Edge Knight for Katarina Reroll, Bloodthirster for like Darius Reroll, Kraken if you're like tempo into Star Guardian, and Rageblade, low-key this should be in D, but it's fine to just sit in C. Okay, so let's get on to the compositions here. So Janna Reroll, you're going to level the 6 on 3-2, and you're basically going to roll for this board. This is not duplicate Janna, these are just 2 builds that you can go. You're going to roll for your 4 mentors, so Janna counts as 1. So technically you're just rolling for your 3 mentors. And Aatrox, +1. So your +1 is going to be Jarvan, ideally, but you're level 6, so this doesn't always happen. Jarvan is better than Ziggs, which is better than equal to Cassante. It just depends whether you need more tank or if you need more damage. Remember that most of your damage on this board, at least at this point of time, is going to be from the Janna. So the strat damage amp from playing the Ziggs is going to be really good. But the unit doesn't do any damage, so you might as well just frontline him with the strat shield. For your Janna items, you are usually going to be going Jewel Gauntlet plus Blue Buff +1, some AP, either like Archangels or like Rabadons. Another build that you could go is Double Nashor's JG. So it just depends if you have like the tiers on your item economy, but regardless, on stage 3, you must have 3 items Janna. It could even be a Void Staff, and then you just move the Void Staff to Rise later. Veteran Fruit on the Janna. To play this comp, usually you lose streak because you really want perfect items, not perfect items, but like good items. So either like finishing off like your blue buff with a tier, or like going for like Rod. So this is really important. Also for guaranteed econ, but if you are able to get this through like Pandora's Islands plus like a tempo opener, then you don't have to lose streak. The two high rolls are going to be Rise and Jarvan. So if you have a Rise, open sell the Yasuo, and if you have a Jarvan, then you could just play that over the Ziggs. Okay, so two augments that I think are really good with this comp is Too Much Value and Keepers. So for Too Much Value, you don't have to play these units, but I think like Recon and a Juggernaut is really good. Even though it says 3 out of 4 or 3 out of 1 mentor here, you have to remember that your Janna is veteran, so there's just 4 out of 4. And then this way you just play this board until you have the Janna Kog'Maw 3, and then you eventually drop them for your actual board, which is like the Aatrox, the Senna, the Jarvan, etc. The second one is going to be Keepers. I think Keepers is really strong, and then you definitely want to fish for best defense on the Kog'Maw, but Tankzilla is still fine. You could usually agree this positioning until like super late game, but once you run into like Jarvan's, itemized Seraphine, or like if there's like an eco hero, you definitely need to spread out and go more like this. Okay, for the augments, I think there's 4 really good ones. So like Calculus, Too Much Value, Treasure Hunt, and any Keepers. This is essentially like just econ augments to help you hit your board. And the power of this board is really strong. So this doesn't necessarily mean that you must have like at least 1 or 2 combat augments in order to function well. So I think these are really good. Some of the good ones. So 9 Lives, Portable Forge. In order, it's going to be Horizon Focus on Kog'Maw, Unending on Kog'Maw, and then Mana Zane on Janna. Patience is Virtue is just Econ, Giant Mighty Bird, Treasures, Component Buffet, and Pandora's items will help you get your good items for this comp. A couple of like kind of bailout ones that are still good. Hero Grab Bag, you play for a little bit lower cap, but sometimes you must do this depending on your spot and how contested you are. Same with Big Grab Bag, sometimes this is really good to fix your items, but if you have perfect items already or like itemized 3items, then you usually won't be taking this. For power-ups, you must have Veteran on Janna. So the way you do this, I mean, usually you must have her fruited by 3-2 or at least on 3-2. So since Veteran is now primary, it's pretty hard to miss on Janna. I actually have not missed it yet. So you just fruit the Janna, you refruit her, you refruit her, at least by the second, third, sometimes even the first one. If you're lucky, you will hit the Veteran. So don't worry too much about that one. The Kog'Maw fruit is the more ambiguous one. So I think best defense is the best one for sure. So any like shield items, Crown Guard, Steric, Vow, usually you won't have Crown Guard because your rods will be going towards Janna instead. So like these two are fine. However, Tankzilla, Body Change, Adaptive Skin, and Resistance / stand alone for stage 3 I think are good, and these are ordered from S to A. The reason why I don't think Resistant and Standalone is that good past stage 4, well, Resistance, usually Kog'Maw is just your main tank at the time, so since he's your main tank and tanking most of the damage, Resistant is just really efficient, but as you go further into the game, there's just more units to actually help with the percentage of tanking. And Standalone is fine on stage 3, there's not a lot of punishes, but if you're Standalone Kog'Maw by like stage 4, stage 5, and you're getting Braum thrown, or like everyone is like grouped up for like Jarvan, you're going to be in some trouble. Okay, let's move on to the next comp here. So Katarina, this is kind of similar to Janna, where you're still like usually streaking stage 2 for your items and your econ, and then you spike hard on 3-2 when you level to 6. Roll for Katarina 2 plus your supporting units. This is going to be your usual board where you just play 5 BA plus 2 Executioner, where obviously Rise is better than Callista, but if you have like Xin Zhao's or like Janna's, you can play that over the Jace and the Ezreal. For Cat Bis, it's going to be Hodge plus Nashers plus 1. Usually it's Edge of Knight, but you could also just go like Strikers, Giant Slayers, or Rabadons, depending on your items. Same thing with Janna, you must have 3 item Katarina on the stage, or else it's over. For positioning, usually you just want to position opposite side of the enemy tank. There's a special tech where you kind of like put all your units into the second and third row. You could do that if you'd like, if you've seen that video. For your upgrades, you must have your Katarina 3 and your Recon 3. However, if you do not have Recon 3, Leona 2 is substitutable. Rise over Callista, and then as mentioned, your Xin Zhao / Janna can be played over the Ezreal and Jace. Here's another Too Much Value board that I recommend playing. It's just Too Much Value, pardon the pun. Your Xin Zhao plus Janna, here you go. And then once you have your Katarina and your Recon 3, you just drop these 2 units and you play Vertical BA instead. Okay, for the augments, Radiant Refractor, Hand of Justice, Radiant on Katarina is just so broken. If you see this, even if you see like Prismatic Party or if you see like Prismatic End, Katarina is just like really good to play. Treasure Hunt, Radiant Relic to fish for this. I mean, you could also go for like Radiant Nashers, Radiant Eon, Radiant GS, Radiant Stridebreaker. So plenty of hits for this. Also, you don't have to play Katarina if you take this on 2-1. For your forges, in order, it's going to be Sonya is better than Seeker is better than Dawn Core, too much value is good, and then a couple of other ones are good as well. For your power-ups, you usually really want to have a scaling one on Katarina. So once again, from S to A, it'll be Max Arcana, better than over 9,000, better than Not Done Yet, better than Weights. If you do not have a scaling one, like sometimes you have to play Katarina, but on 2-1, you fruit, you miss, you refruit, you miss again. You have to play for like a non-scaling one later into the game, which is going to be Amulets, Hemorrhage, or Finalists if there are already some players that are eliminated. For Rakan, it's usually just going to be Unstoppable. If not, Body Change is fine, or Corrosive / Inner Fire if these are necessary. So if you don't have any Shred and you must have Shred, you go Corrosive. If you don't have Anti-Heal and you must have Anti-Heal, then you go Inner Fire. Also, this is actually the wrong... yeah, this board is fine. If you don't have Caitlyn or Jace 3, then that's perfectly fine. And you actually want to be playing an Ezreal over the Caitlyn. So if you don't have 80 items, just play Ezreal here. And then a Janna online. Also, apologize for the low volume. It's 2 AM, so I'm not trying to wake up the whole neighborhood. Kog Bastions is going to be your third comp here. When do you play this? You play this from a Kog drop, or if you have one of these three. So Artifact, or Radiant item, or Bastion Emblem. If you have at least like one of these 4 conditions, you can play Kog. This is going to be your board with those conditions, and here are going to be your Artifact builds. If you don't have Artifact, usually you're just going this. You could also go, I think, like Shojin Nashor JG. That's also fine on Kog'Maw. And Garen gets dropped for Braum. And Yasuo with the Bastion Emblem, you drop the Rel. So Garen is better than Rel. And then, of course, Braum is better than the Garen. For positioning, Kog'Maw is a stall comp, so you really don't want him to get hit right away. So usually you'll be positioning away from the enemy carry and just letting him ramp up. Okay, so for augments, here are his augments. Cooking Pot basically is a Bastion emblem, and you also get to give HP to your Bastions, which is really, really good. Bastions already have a lot of resistance, so giving HP to them, it just equates to more effective HP. Any artifacts, so Portable Forge, Living Forge, for what I showed on the previous slide. Radiant Fractures will be either Shojin or Nashors depending on your build, and then Rigshot Plus allows you to hit your Swain, Yasuo, and Kog'Maw much easier. For augments, you already have infinite damage technically with this composition, so you just want to have more like defensive ones. So like Giant and Mighty, Last Second Save, Second Wind. This is all good, even like Raid Boss. Bastion Crown I would take on 2-1 if you have like a Kog'Maw or if you have an artifact. I think it's really, really good because it gives you that item, but I would not be taking, I don't even know if you can get it, like Bastion Circle on 3-2. I would avoid that. Unexpectedness is good as well. I think this is the one comps where you already have the start, where taking Pumping Up is good. Okay, for your power-ups, usually on Kog'Maw you just take Best's Boy. It's a little bit worse if you have Archangel, but I think it's still fine. Fairy Tail you want to take if you have Dawn Core, you just cast infinitely and this comes your damage. Surge 66 is better with attack speed. So this should be AS here, and then Double Strike is just like default good. Maybe good is a bit too generous. I think it's like default fine. Swain, Tankzilla better than Body Change. Yasuo, Hemorrhage better than Windwall. And I actually think Braum with Snacks Time and 3 damage items is going to be your highest cap. Just does a lot of damage, and that'll be late game. So this is really how, like, a board like this could probably go first. Maybe if you have like an artifact, maybe like Braum and Yasuo with the Bastion Emblem is good enough here. But yeah, this is basically your ideal board. Moving on, so Mighty Mech, this is a fast 9 comp. This is not a level 8 comp unless you have aura farming. Yes, unless you have aura farming Yone. I don't want to see anyone just like going level 8 and just praying that they hit a Yone. That's the easiest way to go 8th. So you must have a good game plan, and that game plan is coming from either 3-2, you hit Invested Plus, or coming from 3-2, you have Forward Thinking, or coming from you have General Tempo, you put Crystal in stage 4, or it's like Scuttle Puddle, Gold Sub, one of those two. Karma Abyss, technically not that important, but she is a reasonable carry. Like she's like reasonable as in like she does a reasonable amount of damage. So like Blue Buff Jewel, Gauntlet +1. Usually it's gonna be Void Staff. If you don't have Void Staff, you just go Nashors or Rabadons, and then you can spark a Mech Pilot. For emblems, you really want to go for Juggernaut, heavyweight, or edgelord emblem and put it on one of your pilots and give it to the mech. And then Lee Sin goes on level 9 here. Augments, as mentioned, invested plus or invested plus plus forward thinking are going to be your one-way tickets to level 9 and giving you that final piece of the puzzle, which is Yone. Flexible is really good for its composition because of the amount of emblems that you can use. However, it is not an econ augment, and you must either hit econ on 3-2 or 4-2, or you must be tempoing so hard that you're able to sack later into the game to actually make it to fast 9. Upward mobility and level up basically have the same condition. If it's like a gold opener, then or it's like a gold portal, this is really good. This is some econ. Cooking pot is guaranteed jug or farming Yone. Unlimited power is just more AP items. You can put the AP items on the mech. You can finish off your karma items. It is just good. Climb the ladder. I believe the mech actually counts as a mighty mech, so he benefits from this, or they benefit from this. Low body slamming, last second save, and second win that both work on the mech, and I believe plot armor does as well. You must have mech pilot to play this comp. If you don't have mech pilot, then it kind of defeats the purpose of this comp. Okay, and I think the final board for today is going to be the Star Gardens board. So we played a lot of this last patch. It was the most broken comp in the game. Now it's good. Level the 8 on 4-2, roll for a variation of this board. See if you hit either a Braum, Varus, or Seraphine. If so, drop the Ari and play the accompanied units. So if you have like Seraphine, and maybe you don't have like a Xante 2 or like a Kog'Maw 2, you could just play a Syndra. For like your Varus, well, you must play the Xante. And if you have a Braum with items, then maybe you play an R. For Jinxbiz, basically I have two options. Here's the first one, Shojin, IE, and Giant Slayer. If you have no Gather Force, which is you really should, but it's really hard to hit now because of the new fruits that are added. You could just go Kraken instead, and then probably just want shield items for best defense. For augments, keepers, really good. Giant and Mighty. This is technically also a stall comp-ish. It's more so, it's like a burst but then stall comp. Your second cast is like really strong because of the Gather Force, but it's basically like one shot. So it's like a burst comp that has like stall comp insurance, which means that some like defensive augments are like still really good. So like second win, plot armor, last second save, Giant and Mighty. A couple other like fine ones like unexpected expectedness, reinforcements, big grab bag, buried treasure, slamming, little buddies. These are all good as well. Wait, and then power-ups. So Gather Force, this is going to be your most obvious one, and then best defense on Poppy. A couple other ones that are acceptable are like Sky Piercer if you have no shred, Hyperactive and Double Strike are like fine, Body Change is fine, and then Corrosive Inner Fire if you must have one of these. Okay, and that's it for today. So I'll do a quick recap and then I'll get this onto YouTube. It's a reroll patch right now. The two best reroll comps are, okay, well, Mal's is actually really good, but it's kind of new and I don't have like the best information for it, so maybe this will come later. So for now, I say it's just Katarina and Janna, with Janna being the obvious best one. If you're able to go fast 9, you want to play around the Mighty Mech Karma or like the fast 9 Bastion or Jug, depending on if you like, just depending on what you're playing around to get there. Couple comps to avoid: your fan service, your Kaisa, your Ashe, and ones that just are like a little weaker. This technically Yuumi should have 2 down arrows. Yuumi is just not as good anymore. Soul Fighter is just tempo. These are like just like top 4 comps, and this is like maybe a top 4, top 3 comp. And Star Garden's still good. So that's basically the whole patch. Look for something to reroll on stage 2. If not, then hopefully you can play a tempo level 8 comp and you're win streaking. The worst is if you're lose streaking and you can't find a reroll, then just go out there and have some fun. Okay, that's it. I'll see you guys later and have a good night.